Danger Dolan. From movies and cartoons stretching their PG ratings to games with unintentional horrors, we count 20 of the creepiest things in media ever to scare the bejesus out of our younger selves. If you'd like to see a YouTube example of each number in this list, then refer to the description box below.
Number 20.
The Goosebumps opening. This was based on the fantasy horror book series by R.L. Stine. And while the show itself had a lot of scary moments like the living dummy, it was the opening that really set the mood for the series. Creepy music, the woman at the billboard, and the dog with his glowing eyes.
Number 19.
The Skeksis. These are vulture-like creatures from the movie The Dark Crystal. What's really horrifying about them is the way they shamble along, big husks with skeletal hands, trial by stone, and the infamous noise one of them makes.
Number 18.
The Springfield Files. This is an early episode of The Simpsons, a spoof of the X-Files still running at the time. Homer finds a glowing green ghost in the forest with a high voice that says,
"Don't be afraid."
So naturally, kids everywhere shit their collective pants. Easily the most terrifying Simpsons episode by far, although nowhere near as scary if you're an adult.
Number 17.
King Ramses. This is an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog, a ridiculously horrifying show for any kid. And this scene shouldn't be as scary as it is, but it's just the way Ramses delivers his line and how he's animated. When a stone tablet is removed from his tomb, he shows up to say,
"Return the slab, or suffer my curse."
Number 16.
The Re-Dead. This is from the game The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, though you could still find them in other games from the series. They slowly walk around like zombies, their faces covered by a wooden mask with a suction hole like that of a Dementor. What's really creepy though, when a Re-Dead is defeated, the other Re-Deads in the area will approach it, crouch down beside it and silently look, but nobody knows why.
Number 15.
Pennywise the Clown. This is from the miniseries It, based on the Stephen King novel. Pennywise is actually an interdimensional predatory life form that takes on the appearance of your worst fears, in this case, a clown. Even though the series can be cheesy at times, Pennywise is by far the scariest thing kids might ever have the misfortune of catching on TV late at night.
Number 14.
The Ring's closet scene. This is an expert cut of a tense, emotional conversation between two women about a girl who'd watched the Ring movie. This is easily the most memorable scene, when she says, "I saw her face," and we get a snap cut to the girl in the closet, her mouth wide open, blackened, pretty messed up.
Number 13.
The Bunyip. This is from an old Australian animation / live action film about a 5-year-old lost in the bush. One scene is a song about a creature known as the Bunyip, and if you don't come home quickly, it's going to get you. What was terrifying though? The mix of animation and live action, the Bunyip charging towards you in a whirl of colour, and the growl noise. Rah!
Number 12.
The Communion Alien. One scene delivered perfectly. Christopher Walken sitting in his chair in his room with creaking and noises outside. He quietly asks,
"Is that someone there?"
Then a close-up of his door and an alien head peeking out for a couple of seconds before it disappears again. Absolutely horrifying. Just like Paranormal Activity, it makes you never want to sleep in your bed again.
Number 11.
Cell melts a man. Dragon Ball Z. A lot of it was censored because of how pervy, graphic, or inappropriate it could be at times. But they let one scene get through, where Cell stabs a businessman and drains all the fluid from his body. He visibly melts on screen and disappears, leaving behind nothing but clothes. They did technically censor one full body shot of the man's face melting for the TV release, but the idea was still horrifying for kids.
Number 10.
Po. This is an old story which has been adapted into books, animations and the like. It's about a creature the size of a dog which hides at the foot of your bed demanding its Po. The original story is that a hunter shot off its tail while hunting game in the forest, and that it wanders houses demanding you return its tail right before it kills you.
Number 9.
The Resident Evil opening from the original PlayStation game, a '96 survival horror, one of the first atmospheric zombie titles mainstream at the time. Even though the voice acting was cheesy, the creepiness of the manner remained, and it was one cutscene that haunted us as a kid. You turn a corner and you see one of your first zombies, crouched on the ground eating a corpse, and it slowly looks at you. Lame today, but terrifying back in the day.
Number 8.
Fire in the Sky, a complete PTSD inducer, must-see film from '93 about alien abductions against a group of 7 or so workers in the White Mountains, Arizona. Now the whole film is terrifying, right? But one scene in particular I am so glad I never saw as a kid. Aliens surround this guy who is held down, covered in a sheet, his mouth and eye held open while they experiment on him. It is intense, and that doesn't even begin to describe it.
Number 7.
The Indiana Jones melting scene, one of the final scenes in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when the Nazis finally get their hands on the fabled Ark of the Covenant, only for ghosts to fly out and kill them. And it was gruesome, faces burning and melting, caving in on themselves, even exploding. For such a chill adventure movie, it would have been absolutely horrifying scene for kids to go through.
Number 6.
The Signs TV Alien, the one scene everyone remembers from Shyamalan's 2002 Signs movie. At this point, you haven't had a good look at the mysterious aliens yet, you've only seen glimpses, and it's only when viewed on the news on a home video that you finally do. But it's the lead up to the reveal. The kids have already seen it, the music's kind of ramping up, you're trying to squint to see where it is, and then it pops out for just one moment. Scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Number 5.
The Puppets from Labyrinth. Tons of scary scenes in the vein of Dark Crystal, but one small scene in particular gives a lot of people the creeps, and it's about the goblins. When you first see them, they're hiding all over the room just out of eyesight. When you finally do see them, they fill the screen with glowing red eyes. It didn't help that in one later scene, some red creatures crack off their heads and start throwing them around. Very unsettling stuff.
Number 4.
Mario's Water Monster. This one comes from Super Mario 64, the first big 3D platformer for the N64. In one of the water levels, there's a seemingly indestructible beast swimming around a giant underwater chasm, and touching it knocks off a giant chunk of your health. But it was the face that creeped people out, the giant staring eyes, the wide snake mouth, and the silence, so out of place for a Mario game.
Number 3.
Mars Attacks. A lot of kids saw this movie, but few realized even though the aliens were super creepy looking and how much violence there was, Mars Attacks was actually meant to be a comedy. But most of the terror came from how they came down in their spaceship, brains in jars, only to start firing at everyone relentlessly, and one woman even gets her head planted on a dog. It was a weird, crazy film, awesome to see as an adult, but terrifying as a kid.
Number 2.
The Haunted Mask. One more mention for Goosebumps. Every kid ever remembers this episode. It's the one where disembodied masks start getting attached to your head if you wear them long enough, and their personality traits begin to imprint on yours. Eventually, the masks get so desperate to get worn that they begin floating through the neighborhood in one of the creepiest scenes ever portrayed in a kid's show.
Number 1.
You Are Not Perfect. One of the most bizarre, horrifying and blood-curdling scenes encourage the Cowardly Dog. One I couldn't put at anything but number 1. It appears for nothing but a few seconds in the episode Perfect. Courage's nightmare about a freakish, whispery, blue fetus-like creature with a human face that says nothing except, "You're not perfect," with uber creepy music playing. No explanation. Totally fucked up. I cannot believe they let kids see this.
You're not perfect.
That is it for this countdown. Have a good one.